Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going to go over the Monday Night Football Showdown Slate, the Colts versus the Saints. Anyway, before we continue, if you guys could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out, really appreciate it. And also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. And also, I should mention, we got over 3,000 subscribers this weekend, so that was absolutely awesome. That was a milestone I've been waiting to hit for a while now. So again, thank you guys for all the continued support on this channel, especially to those of you who are already subscribed and leave likes and leave comments. I do like interacting with you guys, and I do appreciate all the support on the channel. So hopefully we can just keep on growing it into a, just bigger and bigger. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at ChrisPinell16. I think I already said that. And if you were interested in the spreadsheets about every single week for the NFL season and every single night for the NBA season in my Discord chat as well, links in the description below for my Patreon. And we actually had a guy hit for 50K tonight on NFL. They scored like 242, took down I think the $100 single entry over on Draftkings. And so if you are watching this, shout out to Anthony. He took down $50,000. That was absolutely awesome. Had a pretty great lineup. I don't remember exactly who was all on it, but a lot of the core plays. So you had a pretty good day. So again, if you're interested, links in the description below for the Patreon, and let's get into this slate. I feel like that was a long intro, so I'm sorry. But anyway, let's just go down the list here. So Michael Thomas, he's coming in as the most expensive guy in this slate, and that is 100% deserved. He has been rock solid this season, and he's our clear top play of this slate. I mean, it's pretty obvious too. I mean, it may sound weird, but I like his price, $12,600. It's expensive, but I would still be very interested even if he was like in the 13K range. So I'll just have interest just based off of him being, I think, maybe a little bit lower price than he definitely could be. And he's just been so dominant this season. He's the lead leader in receiving yards, targets, target share, weighted opportunity share, you name it. He's pretty much top 3 in every single category. So volume is never an issue, and neither is the talent, obviously. So there's really nothing not to like here. And he's just been so consistent this season. Let's just look at his game log. So he had last week versus San Francisco, 15 targets, 33 points. Atlanta on Thanksgiving, that was his worst game of the season. He had 10 points. Worst game of the season, he has 10 points. That's not too bad. And then 29 points, 28, 31, 30, 25, 16, 44, 18, 16, 18, 25. The guy is just a model of consistency. He's more than likely going to get you double-digit targets. And I mean, he's had double-digit targets in 9 out of the past 10 games. So he has been an absolute monster this season. And now the matchup versus the Colts, it's pretty middle of the road. The Colts are 15th DVOA versus the pass and are middle of the pack in points given up to the position. But who cares about matchups when it comes to Michael Thomas? That's just one of those things you got to look completely past. Like last week versus San Francisco, I didn't play him on the main slate, but versus San Francisco is a tough matchup. Does not matter. 15 targets, 11 catches, 134 yards, and touchdown matchups do not matter with Michael Thomas. Feel free to load him up, as he will more than likely be the highest scorer on the slate. And he also has PFF's #1 wide receiver versus cornerback matchup of the entire week. So Michael Thomas, he's an elite talent. He gets elite volume. He's on an elite team. He makes too much sense here. So you got to like Michael Thomas. I would find a way to jam him in your lineups as much as you can. Drew BREES, he comes in at 12K. It's a pretty hefty price tag, but that's because he's coming off a monster game where he had 43 fantasy points, 349 yards, 40 pass attempts, 29 completions, 5 passing touchdowns, and also had a goal line rushing touchdown. So he had 6 touchdowns last week, and that was just in that shootout versus San Francisco, which is potentially going to be the best game of the entire season. Now, he's expensive, but of course I have to have interest in Drew BREES on a showdown slate. I already talked about how this is a middle-of-the-road matchup, but the Saints can come over, they can, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't really matter the matchup is what I'm trying to say. They can overcome it, and we've seen 2 clunkers from him this season, but other than that, he's been pretty solid. I mean, 43, 11, that sucked. 26, 21, 11, that sucks. And 29, then he got hurt in that game. And then 24 versus Houston. So he's really been pretty solid this season. And I think the most likely scenario in this game is he gets you near 300 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns at home in the Superdome. They have a pretty decent implied team total. So you got to like Drew BREES here. So definitely have interest to get him in my flex spot. Probably not someone I'm going to captain on this slate. I'd rather captain Michael Thomas or ALVIN KAMARA, but Drew BREES is definitely a solid flex option. ALVIN KAMARA, so there's a big price drop off here. So we got 2 guys in the 12K range, then you got ALVIN KAMARA in this 9.8K range. So I do like the price point. That was my first initial reaction when I saw the price on ALVIN KAMARA. I was like, yeah, he's a pretty solid price. Now, has he been disappointing for his expectations? for sure. He's definitely been pretty disappointing, and I can only assume he isn't fully healthy because his missed tackle rate and elusiveness has definitely taken a major dip, and that's where he makes his money. He's just being the best back in the league at forcing missed tackles and being elusive and just making tremendous plays when he gets the ball in his hand. Really hasn't seen too much of that lately, but he's still been somewhat safe this season. He's had double-digit points in all but 2 games this year. Then he had that one boom game versus Seattle. So if you just look at his game log, 7 points, then 12, 19, 22, 15, 13, 16, 11. Doesn't kill you. It's not great either. I mean, he had a couple 20-point games, but then he had that 37-point game versus Seattle where he had that really nice receiving touchdown. 37 points, and then he had 7 points, which is one of his other worst games. Then 23 points versus Houston on opening night. And another problem is he's only scored 2 touchdowns this season. Those both came versus Seattle, and which is odd because in the prior seasons he's been a touchdown scoring machine. I mean, he's on a great offense, so there's plenty of scoring opportunities, but it just has not happened for ALVIN KAMARA this year. And to make it worse, he had his worst game of the season in a game last week, and it was like near 100 points scored. And you would think that would be a big ALVIN KAMARA game. Well, he scored 7.3 points, which I believe was his second worst game in the entire season, in a game where he absolutely shot out. So you would have thought that would have been a big game for ALVIN KAMARA, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But still, he's the main running back here. You don't really have to worry about Latavius Murray too much. He's still playing about 75% of the snaps. That's what he had last week. And he's 11th in touches per game. Now, he's only averaging 12 carries per game, but he's also seeing nearly 8 targets per game. And that's what makes him pretty safe because this is a PPR scoring site. And if you just look at his targets, 6, 8, 9, 10, 10, 8, 7, 3, 10, 3, 8. More than likely, he's going to get you close to double-digit targets. He has a near 20% target share in the season, which only trails CMC when it comes to running backs. In the matchup, it's kind of meh. The Colts are allowing the 6th fewest points per game to the position, but they're also 20th DVOA versus the run, so it's not like it's an absolute gauntlet of a defense. And the Saints offense is just so good. They're a well-oiled machine, so they'll be able to go down the field at will more than likely. So KAMARA, I do like the price, and I think he's pretty safe, so I do think he's someone you're going to want to find a way to get in, and honestly, don't hit him in the captain spot, too. I mean, he's bound to pop off at some point. I mean, so I don't mind ALVIN KAMARA here at 9,800. I just like 3K savings you get off of Michael Thomas there, so I could see wanting to take the savings with ALVIN KAMARA in the captain spot, and that's definitely something I could see you wanting to go with. So we'll go down to JACOBY BRISSETT here at 9K. Now, I don't think he's a must-play, and we're going to have to see if Hilton plays, because if he does, obviously it's going to be a boost for JACOBY BRISSETT to have an elite weapon on the outside to throw to. If not, we're going to have to downgrade him a little bit, but the matchup, it's all right. Saints are actually allowing the 9th most points per game to quarterbacks, but are also 10th DVOA versus the pass. Now, I would expect this to be a pass-heavy approach for the Colts, as they are 9-point dogs on the road and a 46.5-point over-under. So yeah, I'll have interest in BRISSETT. I just don't think the ceiling is very high, or really high enough for his price tag. I mean, if you look at his game log, 22, 17, 13, 16, 2, 10, 31 was pretty good, then 11, 23, 23, 18, 16. Really not a high ceiling quarterback, and I think the most likely scenario here is he gets you about 15 fantasy points with upside of more. I just don't think he has a huge ceiling here, especially if T.Y. Hilton happens to miss this game. And like I said, it's not like he's setting the world on fire either. So JACOBY BRISSETT, he's fine as a flex option. Not going to make my captain, I can tell you that right now. But if you want to go with the double quarterback approach, it might be a safer route to go. I think JACOBY BRISSETT's a fine option, but he's not a core play for me on this slate. I could see the Saints defense being a little bit too much for him. Maybe they generate some pressure on him. But if T.Y. Hilton's back in, it's obviously going to help him. So again, you're going to have to monitor that. And speaking of T.Y. Hilton, he comes in at 8,200, and I really have no idea if he's going to play or not. He did practice Friday, and then he wasn't out there for Saturday, so really, who knows at this point. They are saying he's going to be a true game time decision, so we're likely not to know until about an hour or so before game time. But if he does play, I find it hard to trust putting him in my lineups, to be honest, considering he could be, he could just very easily re-aggravate his cap injury pretty easily. And the Saints are actually giving up the 2nd most points per game to wide receivers, so it's a pretty good matchup on the outside. But if Hilton would start, he's going to unfortunately see some Marshawn Lattimore. I expect him to shadow him, so I typically try to shy away from Marshawn Lattimore. So I might just open up some more softer coverage for the secondary options on the Colts. But T.Y. Hilton, if he does play, I could see him being more of a decoy. We'll see. If he doesn't play, kind of makes it easier, so we have some more cheaper options to use in the Colts offense. So again, you're going to have to monitor the injury news on T.Y. Hilton. Zach Pascal at 8K. So he's had 2 great games in a row with no T.Y. Hilton. He saw 19 targets, and he Had 20 points in each game, 109 yards versus Tennessee, 74 yards versus Tampa Bay, and caught that nice touchdown last week. And like I said, the Saints are actually giving up the second most points per game to wide receivers this season, so it's not a bad matchup. But problem is, if T.Y. Hilton is out, he's going to be the one seeing Marshawn Lattimore the majority of the time here, and that could spell some trouble. So again, we're going to have to wait on this injury news. If T.Y. Hilton's in, Zach PASCAL will more than likely see some Eli Apple, which is definitely softer coverage. So we'll have to wait on the injury news. I apologize to sound like a broken record here, but I don't know if he's going to play. So I'm just letting you guys know where you can go if T.Y. Hilton's in or if he's out. Now, Marlon Mack, he's not someone I have too much interest in on this slate. I like Mack when the game script suggests that the Colts will be playing with the lead, because he's really not involved in the passing game whatsoever. If you just look at the recent games, I mean, no targets, or one target, no targets, one target, and 3 targets, and it's really about as much as you're going to get. 3 targets is his ceiling all season. He's had multiple games with 0 targets, so not someone that we can really count on the passing games, and they are 9-point dogs on the road in the Superdome, and you're going to have to face one of the stiffest run defenses in the NFL. They're allowing the 7th fewest points per game to running backs and have the number 4 ranked run defense on PFF, so I could see this being tough sledding for Marlon Mack, and I could see this being more of a NYHEIM HINES game, and at 7,800, not a good game script for Marlon Mack, so if they fall behind early, I think he's going to be not a very good play, because I could see NYHEIM HINES getting some extra run here and getting the receptions. So Marlon Mack, not really a great play in my eyes on this slate. Jared Cook at 6,800, he's solid, and before getting hurt last week, he balled out with 2 catches, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns, although I'm not sure how they ruled the 1 catch a touchdown. It didn't look like it was a touchdown, but they gave it to him anyway. And he's been not bad at all since week 5. He's been nothing short of solid. I mean, 20 points, 11, 21, 11, 13, 12, 14. He has been very good since week 5. So I do like the consistency that he has been bringing us. I know we got the concussion, but he is good to go for this game, so there's no worries whatsoever. And this is a pretty solid matchup versus the Colts. They're pretty below average versus tight ends. They're allowing over 13 points per game to the position, which is around 10th most in the NFL. So Jared Cook, he is definitely a solid mid-range option on this slate. Saints are going to put up points, and Jared Cook, he's been catching touchdowns, so do have some interest in him. Jack Doyle, I don't have a lot of interest in Jack Doyle on this slate. I'd rather pay 200 more for Jared Cook. I'd much rather do that, but he's going to be on the field a lot. He's just more of a boring play. He had a great game versus Tennessee with no T.Y. Hilton, and he did disappoint last week. He had 6 targets, 2 catches, and it was a good matchup versus Tampa Bay, but only had 4.7 points. But I like the snaps he's going to be playing, and if Hilton is out, we'll see increased targets like he's had the past 2 weeks. But 6,600 for Jack Doyle seems a little bit too much, because if he doesn't score a touchdown, we're more than likely going to be pretty disappointed in Jack Doyle. And can't play any of these quarterbacks. Latavius Murray at 5,600. So if I like KAMARA, I probably don't want to play Latavius Murray because it's not the best correlation play, and he only played 26% and 33% of the snaps the past 2 weeks. So he's more touchdown or bust, as KAMARA's going to dominate the snaps, and he'll probably fall around that 5 to 10 touch range. So Latavius Murray, if he gets you a goal line touchdown and say 5 carries for 40 yards, that's being very efficient. Probably more likely 5 to 7 carries for 30-some yards and maybe a touchdown. I could see that happening. But if he doesn't score, I think you're going to be pretty disappointed. So Latavius Murray, not someone I'm really looking to play on this slate. Marcus Johnson at 5,200. So again, we have to monitor this T.Y. Hilton news. But if he's out, we're going to have some interest in Marcus Johnson. The Colts should have to throw the ball quite a bit in this matchup, and the Saints are beatable through the air. And also, Paris Campbell and Chester Rogers will be out. So that just opens up more targets and snaps in general. He's been playing around 90% of the snaps the past few weeks, and he drew 7 targets last week. If Hilton is out, I'd expect Lattimore on PASCAL, giving Johnson some softer coverage. So would have some interest in Marcus Johnson. Had a really good game last week and a good matchup versus Tampa Bay. 7 targets, 3 catches, 105 yards, 1 touchdown, 22 fantasy points. So again, someone we're going to have to keep on our radar if T.Y. Hilton happens to be out in this game. Saints defense, you could definitely play the Saints defense here. I do like playing the defense at home, especially in a primetime game, and they're playing in the Superdome. It's going to be loud, and T.Y. Hilton's out. It's going to be even better for the Saints defense, so definitely have some interest in these guys at home in the Superdome. Ted Ginn Jr. at 4,200. See, he's playing about 50% of the snaps these days, and really, he's not an exciting play. He's just the guy you have to hope hits on a long ball. And I would say he's boom or bust, but he really hasn't been much of a boom. So he's kind of just like a meh or bust, to be honest. 9 points, 0 points, 5, 9, 0, 6, 6, 6, 11, 4, 3, 0, then 20 week 1. So he's pretty much a meh or bust play. So I really don't think there's a lot of upside with Ted Ginn. Yeah, you can always hit on the big play. We saw it week 1, but not a lot of interest in Ted Ginn. He's a decent lineup filler if you have like 4,400 left or something like that. So someone to keep on your radar. But honestly, I'd rather play Will Lutz at 4K, to be honest. I think he's a more safer option. And he's been scoring more than Ted Ginn has on a weekly basis. I mean, if you look at his game log, 13, 17, 11, 11, 10, 7, 10, 8, 7, 14, 3, 12, 15. The guy is one of the better kickers in the NFL, and there's going to be plenty of scoring opportunities for the New Orleans Saints in this matchup, and I'd much rather play him over Chase McLaughlin. So Will Lutz, I would say he's a core play for me on this slate because I can see plenty of field goal opportunities. He's going to get you those extra points, and I think he gets you double-digit points. So Will Lutz, I think he's a very solid option on this slate. I do think NYHEIM HINES is a pretty solid option on this slate as well. So he comes in at 3,800. And as 9-point dogs, this could be a game where HINES has fantasy value. Like I said, I have some concerns with MARLON MACK. So if I have concerns with MARLON MACK, it would make sense for me to want to play NYHEIM HINES here. And he did play 56% of the snaps last week. And if you just look at the targets, he's been involved through the air every single game this season. That's what he is. He's the pass-catching running back. 5 targets, 2, 3, 4, 7, 3, 3, 2, 5, 6, 4, 2, 4. Not anything outstanding, but he's been scoring points at least every single week, so he's never going to goose you. He's going to get you probably around 10 touches in this game. So NYHEIM HINES, I definitely have some interest in him. I think this is going to be a positive game script for him. So if you have interest at 3,800, I think he's a very solid play. And then, let's see, going down the list a little bit. Chase McLaughlin, you can play him. I'd just much rather play Will Lutz. I'm not really sure if I want to go double kicker on this slate. But, at 3,600, it's just a whatever play. Tre'Quan Smith, he's playing a lot more snaps than Ted Ginn is. He's been around the upper 70 percentage-wise for snaps ran the past few weeks. But not a lot of upside with Tre'Quan Smith. 4 targets, 29 yards. 2 targets, 14 yards. 3 targets, 13 yards. If he doesn't score, you will be disappointed with Tre'Quan Smith. I mean, if you look at the games he hasn't scored a touchdown this season, he has been very dreadful. So not too interested in Tre'Quan Smith. Again, if you have 3K and you need a lineup filler, you could definitely play him and just hope he catches a touchdown. But other than that, you're probably not expecting too much from Tre'Quan Smith. Colts defense, I'm going to pass because I'm going to have a ton of Saints in my lineup, so it just wouldn't make a lot of sense for me to play the Colts defense on the road, and they give up a ton of points to Jameis Winston last game out. Josh Hill, he's got to catch a touchdown. If he doesn't catch a touchdown, you're not going to have a lot of fantasy points. And even if he does catch a touchdown, you're really not looking at a lot of fantasy points. You're probably looking anywhere from like 7 to 8. Like last week, he caught a touchdown, 3 targets, 2 catches, 4 yards, 8 points. Needs to catch a touchdown. Taysom Hill, I hate Taysom Hill. He's probably going to steal all of Alvin Kamara's points or Michael Thomas. He's probably going to ruin this slate. So you could play Taysom Hill, to be honest. I don't think he's the worst play in the world at 2K. He's going to get some quarterback snaps. He's going to get some run at tight end, wide receiver, running back, you name it. So he'll get some touches. We'll see. He did have 5 rushing attempts last game, 13 yards. 2 rushing attempts versus Atlanta, got the touchdown. He's not the worst play in the world on the Showdown slate. Obviously, this is the main slate. Get out of here. But on a Showdown slate at 2K, Taysom Hill, we've seen him do the troll job. We saw it on Thanksgiving, so I don't hate him as just a YOLO 2K play. Dontrell Inman, he actually just got signed by the Colts, and he is familiar with the system. So if T.Y. Hilton's out, he could have a decent role on this offense. Now, this game log was obviously, since week 4, but just got signed back with the Colts, so not too bad. If T.Y. Hilton's out, he's definitely someone that could have some run. I wouldn't expect him to play too many snaps because he just got into town, but he could be on your radar for sure at only 1,800. Other than that, that's really all I want to talk about. You can't trust Williams anymore. You can't trust Wilkins. DULIN, he played, I think, like 20% of the snaps last week, or it was either 8 or 20. I think I had it written down somewhere. Let me check. So, yeah, DULIN played 22% of the snaps last week, did absolutely nothing, 0 targets, 0 catches. And then the week before that, 1 target, 1 catch. If Hilton's out, I really still don't have too much interest in DULIN. But, I mean, there's just so many injuries for the Colts wide receivers, or just really offense in general. But DULIN's really not someone on my radar too much. ALIE-COX, he played 25% of the snaps last week, and he's huge. But I had 1 target for 8 yards. I mean, he could catch a touchdown at 400. If he catches a touchdown at 400, he'll definitely be fine. It's just not something I can bank on, but did have a target last week, so you're pretty much just going to have to hope he catches a red zone touchdown. And then really that's as low as I would go, to be honest. So I'll probably leave you guys with that. We can attempt to build a lineup. I have not tried to build a lineup yet, and like I say, never just take my lineup and run it on your run it in your contest. I am making this up on the fly. I just want to see how roster construction would look like. So for the captain, trust me, I love Michael Thomas, but he's also 19K. I love Drew Brees, but he's also 18K. But you can get KAMARA for about 4K cheaper, and that's kind of standing out to me. So we're going to put him in the captain spot and just hope he gets into the end zone for once. Then we're going to plug in Michael Thomas. We're going to plug in Drew Brees because I feel like you got to play those guys. I like Will Lutz, so I'm going with a Saints onslaught here. We're gonna have to get one Colt in our lineup, and I'm liking NYHEIM. So by playing all these Saints, we're pretty much hoping that they just absolutely just destroy the Colts. And if that's the case, NYHEIM should have a pretty decent role in the passing game here, so we're going to play him. Then we get 2,900 left, and that's going to leave us with something like Colts, defense, Josh Hill, TAYSOM, Hill, Inman. Not loving what we have at this point, to be honest. But maybe if we drop Will Lutz and we go with someone like Traquan Smith and just hope he catches a touchdown, you could get the Colts kicker in. Not the worst. I'm just playing around as of right now. But it's not too hard to fit in KAMARA, Thomas, Brees. You're just going to have to hope your pump plays work out, but definitely could. So, but I would recommend getting the 3 best players on this slate in because I think they're far and away the best plays on this slate. So definitely like to go top heavy on this showdown slate. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. If this video was helpful, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. Also follow me on Twitter, ChrisPennell16, and I'll see you guys in the next video.